أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank you for joining us for these meditations on Ramadan and COVID-19, which are inspired by numerous scholars, and I acknowledge all of them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them, and I pray that this blessed month opens our hearts to receive Allah's guidance, Allah's grace, and His bountiful mercy. I want to begin with an admission, an unhelpful admission that I experienced some religious practices, like the post-Taraweeh adhkar, or what is colloquially called pujas, with an admixture of endearment and mild irritation. I find it endearing because I recognize the profound meanings in the adhkar, which extol the glory of the Almighty using the noblest sifat or attributes. Subhana dhil mulki wal malakut, Subhana dhil izzati wal azamati wal haybati wal qudrati wal kibriyai wal jabarut. These are indeed powerful attributes of our Lord. The collective adhkar gives it greater resonance, but it also represents the continuation of a tradition that adds meaning to the present, links us to our own past, and historically to the first Muslim communities on these shores who kept the Islam alive through such traditions, and who in turn were connected to their countries of through such ritual. But it evokes in me a mild irritation because the words are often butchered, the melodies mangled, and the meanings erased. It becomes a habit, recitation by rote, if you will, one of mindlessness instead of mindfulness. And of course, I generalize. So I imagine that if I had the opportunity to officiate at the mosque, I would request a congregation to observe silent meditation on interspersed days instead of the collective hymn. Silence would force us to be still, present, and reflective. Islam represents this wonderful paradox of communal and individual, the outward and the inward, the allowed and the silent. And this is nowhere better represented than in our various forms of prayer. We have the communal prayer and the individual prayer, the public prayer and that in the seclusion of the night, the outward and inward demands of prayer and prayers read aloud and those in silence. The prayers in the environment of noise during the day are prayed in silence, and those in the time of silence are read aloud. Ramadan represents a counterculture of the soul. It represents a stepping back from habit and from our busy, cyclical, noisy, unfocused, materialist, and consumerist lives, where we, in the continuation of this vicious cycle, remain unaware of the profound alternatives. It's like creatures deep in the sea, unaware of what it means to be wet, because their intellectual or experiential development permits no alternate awareness. Thus, in Ramadan, we are given the opportunity to step back and cultivate an awareness, to defrock the ephemeral world of its authority over us, and to reinstate the spiritual bearing, to quote Ibrahim Abu Sharif. This process of stepping back or withdrawal is referred to in the Quran as uzla or i'tizal. And it is most beautifully captured in the Quran in a story of the people of the cave who withdrew from the community who engaged in wrong. And in the Surah Kahf, which we are encouraged to read every Friday by our Prophet ﷺ, Allah uses this word i'tizal, where He refers to these people as وَإِذِ اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَمْرِكُمْ مِرْفَقًا. Now that you have withdrawn from such people and what they worshipped instead of God, take refuge in the cave. God will shower His mercy on you and make you and find you an easy way out of your ordeal. And there is a similar word used in the story of Nabi Ibrahim when he withdrew from his people. And the Quran uses the word وَأَعْتَزِلُكُمْ. There are also stories of Maryam and Musa withdrawing from their people into seclusion in the Quran. And similarly, the Prophet ﷺ periodically retreated to the cave of Hira for meditation and reflection, sometimes for prolonged periods. The caves in the stories represent both a physical space and a symbol of the inner space of the heart, where one seeks refuge from the world and its multitude of attractions and distractions. Both Hira and the abode of Ahl al-Kahf were sites of i'tizal, but also sites of spiritual awakening. And I emphasize that uzla is not necessarily a retreat into a different physical space, but also a retreat into ourselves. Man arafa nafsa, faqad arafa Allah. I'tizal enables us to slow down, to shut down, to step out and silence in order to engender inactivity and stillness, which is a necessary platform to allow us to be present and to reflect and meditate. Tafakkur and tadabbur. One of the scholars has described tafakkur as a journey of the heart to the presence of our Lord. A hadith of the Prophet ﷺ begins with the beautiful line, Innama as-sawmu junnah, or an alternative is as-siyamu junnah. Translated as fasting is a shield which creates a protective spiritual environment for the fasting person and reflects evil temptations. This protective shield is not dissimilar to the protection of the fetus in the womb. The Quran uses a similar derivative word as junnah to describe this protection. The Quran says, jinnatun fi butuni ummahatikum. So in this month, not only are the shayateen chained up, according to a narration of the Prophet ﷺ, but we also have a junnah, or a protective shield around us through our fasting. The confluence of COVID-19 and Ramadan creates a double lockdown, enhancing our ability to step back, i'tizal, with the protective shield, junnah, of our fasts. Not only is shaitan in chains, so are we, metaphorically speaking. We engage in what Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad calls the global i'tikaf, with its tremendous opportunities for reflection, for tadabbur and tafakkur. It creates the climate for a different Ramadan. While conscious of the impact of the lockdown on the poor, those of us who can afford to should benefit from this moment. It may not and hopefully doesn't come again. This moment of tafakkur brings into sharp relief how the pandemic has exposed our fragile world, our fragile societies and economies, our consumerist bent, and our treatment of the environment. Those who have engaged in i'tizal never re-enter the spaces devocated with the same lens, the same consciousness, or spiritual bearing. And I pray that at the end of the lockdown, we re-enter our world with a difference. I want to end where I began. In its absence, I realized that I somewhat missed the pujis this Ramadan. The rhythmic and resonant sound of the adhkar creates a wonderful ambience with the angels singing in unison. And I realized I can live with its imperfections. But it was only in the stillness of the month and the silencing of the adhkar that I feel the presence of its absence. So is the story of our lives. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us all and protects us, our families, our communities, and our fragile world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this a month of bounty, and may our hearts journey to the presence of our Lord. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qulubana ala dinik. Ya musarrif al-qulub, sarrif qulubana ala ta'atik. Barakallahu feek. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.